How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FP and welcome back to the Deadline with Dayvy livestream. This livestream is going to be about everything Game Week 22. I'm pretty sure all the comments in the chat are going to be, who should I bench, Antonio, Bamford or DCL, because that's basically every single comment that I've had on yesterday's video. I would much rather have those comments though on yesterday's video and in the chat than F's in chat because of the Harvey Barnes captaincy. So yes, the Harvey Barnes captaincy did pay off, but it was kind of bittersweet here because Salah went and absolutely banged against West Ham, scoring 15 points, which was basically what Harvey Barnes got with the captaincy. Just happy that he managed to return maybe more than Gundogan, because I think that was another captain consideration that I was considering. Maybe if you captain DCL, that's a little bit of a rip there, but hopefully Game Week 22 is also not going to have any Fs in chat. 70 points after the -4, which took us up to 170k, so the rank is looking a little bit respectable, but I'm kind of trying to juice it up as most as possible, because then we could hopefully finish as high as possible. Couple of questions about realistic endings to this season. I can't really tell you that right now. I think if we absolutely pull the triple captain out the bag and captain someone that gets 10 goals, maybe we can be looking at the top 10k. Otherwise, I'm just going to try and finish as high as possible. But on the screen there, what you guys are looking at, that team is the most recent team from the team selection. I know we also covered kind of a Cancelo captain, but I think right now I'm edging it a little bit more towards Mo Salah, just from a safety point of view. So I know a little bit boring here, not going to be as exciting as probably last Deadline with Dayvy live stream for Game Week 21, but maybe you guys in the comments can convince me. Maybe a Harvey Barnes captaincy again. I mean, Fulham looks quite good. I saw someone in chat there, Naveen, saying, how's the cup going? So thank you, Naveen, after me saying no F's in chat because of the Harvey Barnes captaincy. We are out of the cup. That was Game Week 19, so that was a couple of game weeks ago that we did get knocked out of the cup. So that's a little bit unfortunate, and maybe that can have an F in chat. But other than that, it's looking good with the green arrows, and I'm hoping just Game Week 22 is like the last game week. So we get another green arrow, and we just slowly... We're like an old person going up the stairs here. We're slowly ascending, but once we get up to the top, it's going to be an absolute party. So hopefully we can get as high as possible. In terms of the comments in chat, I've seen a ton of you guys are commenting from the start. You guys have been pumping your questions in, not even getting a little bit of a break there. So the questions were kind of revolving around captaincy. So a couple of people are asking Captain Salah. So we can talk about captaincy right now, probably talk about it a little bit later on, as someone mentions in chat there, Ali saying Salah could be benched. So the unfortunate thing about the Jurgen Klopp press conference today was that he didn't even announce that Sadio Mane, if Sadio Mane was basically back from injury or if he was still injured. So I don't really understand that one. That was a little bit of an unfortunate move in terms of the interviewers, because it would have been a great kind of asset to know if Sadio Mane was out injured, because the general consensus is if Sadio Mane is out injured, Salah's basically guaranteed to start, because Liverpool still want to keep their foot on the pedal in terms of the Premier League. So if Mane's out, Salah will start, whereas if Mane's back, Salah might be benched, because Man City is on the horizon there. I think it's on Sunday afternoon. And I'm pretty sure that Liverpool are going to want to win that game. So maybe Salah gets benched, but I think my personal opinion is I think he'll get about 60 minutes. 60 minutes, 70 minutes, no matter if Mane was injured or not. So if you kind of want a captain that's going to play the full 90, maybe look at a Bruno Fernandes. Even with João Cancelo, I mean, I'm not really certain that he's going to play a full 90. But if you are looking at an alternative arrangement for your captaincy, because of that Sadio Mane benching, then you could look elsewhere. Apologies for that break in audio. My mic was just doing its own thing. I had to do a little bit of an arrangement there, but we are back in action with a £2 donation from the Emerald Pilot saying Stones to Cancelo and Rafinha to Grealish. So Emerald, I wouldn't be doing Stones to Cancelo. That move, I think, might be a little bit sideways. I'm expecting Stones to play. He was benched in the Game Week 21 fixture, so I'm pretty sure that he'll be in the starting lineup. So I wouldn't do Stones to Cancelo, but Rafinha to Grealish does look good. Now, Rafinha and Bamford, it's kind of a 75% chance of playing, I think. It did look like good news from the Leeds press conference, but Rafinha to Grealish is an upgrade if both of them were starting anyways. So I would just do one of those moves, not the Stones to Grealish one, but thanks for the super chat. Dayvy, shall I take a 48 hit for Berkey and bench Salah this week. So that's the thing, as I think you said you were going to bring in Berkey last week. I don't even know if he started, but I think he did play well. So he just needs to kind of have one successful pass, and then I think that might be worth the hit. Optimus Prime saying going to have a lot of rotation also this game week, bosses. So I think we could say that about basically every single game week from the last couple to the next one because of this little period that we've had where the deadlines have been super close. So we've had about a midweek game for the last 2 weeks, so we could also have some rotation in that week. But I think most of the players that you have should be starting. They might be coming off early. That's what I think will happen with Salah, is I think as long as Liverpool are in the driving seat in that fixture, which could be a little bit of a disappointment from captaincy point of view. But as long as they're in the driving seat, I think 60 minutes he probably comes off. Owen saying, your captain, no Cancelo. So that's my captaincy debate kind of this week, is I'm looking at João Cancelo and he's looking back at me with those puppy dog eyes. I really want to go for the captaincy on him, but I simply just can't do it. I think this game is going to be one of those boring ones. Everyone's going to captain Mo Salah. It's going to be about 160% effective ownership in the top 10K. And if you don't captain him, if you captain him, well, actually what I mean is if you captain him, if he scores, you're not really happy because everyone's captained him. But if he scores and you didn't captain him, then you're going to be looking in for an absolute dreadful week. So this game week has a high risk, high reward strategy. If you want to go for a more differential captain and Salah ends up blanking, you're going to be in absolute dreamland, but it's going to be the opposite if he ends up banging and you didn't. Joe Feynman saying transfer in Bamford, DCL or Wilson. Cheers, Dayvy. So I don't know if I'll be transferring in DCL. I think Wilson or Bamford's probably where it's at for me. In terms of the Newcastle fixtures, I don't know exactly how they're playing or who they're playing in the future. So let's just go take a look at that. So they play Crystal Palace, Southampton. Then they play Chelsea United. Not the worst fixtures in the world, but I definitely think I would favor Bamford. This week is a little bit tricky for Bamford because if he does manage to not play this week, that transfer looks like an absolute bust. But I think out of those two options, I probably would prefer going for Bamford. I think if we had news about that double game week 24, which looks likely for Everton and Man City, then you have to go for DCL because he has an upcoming double. But if you have to go on the news we have right now, DCL doesn't look to be in the best of form, so I definitely would go for Bamford. But thanks for the donation, Joe. No worries, Joe. Target a good transfer. So this week it depends. If you have Antonio in your side and you're starting him, maybe don't look at that transfer. But for a long-term move, I think target's perfectly fine. Liverpool trainer, he was asked about injuries and didn't give a straight answer on it, Mane. So that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Klopp didn't give us a really defined answer on Sadio Mane. I think the question was, do you think, or is it the same team as game week 21? And he said, yes, it's the same. So that could mean that Mane's out, or it could mean he's back in. Yes, or just a kind of an easier answer. Cabanera saying, hello, Dayvy, bench Chilwell or Bamford? I always favor the attacker, so I probably would bench Chilwell in your case. Hope you're still good. Do I bench Gundogan, Watkins, DCL, or Bamford? So this is kind of a common thread, so I might answer this in a really general sense. So if you're looking at DCL, if you're looking at Bamford, if you're going on form, you have to bench DCL because Bamford scored in the last game. He scored actually a couple. So I think you have to go for Bamford on form. And also think from a fixture point of view, Everton haven't really been that great. So I think I would probably look at benching DCL. But if it's someone like Antonio's stats look good. I know Aston Villa defensively might be a better fixture than others. But also that's like a tough spot to be in. So I'm really happy that you guys have such a good squad depth that you can bench some of these players, because in my bench, it kind of picked itself. I was really comfortable with this, but I can understand maybe if I had an Antonio, it would be otherwise. But I don't know if there's going to be so much between the options that you're considering. I mean, if you're looking at 4 players and you're deciding who you're going to bench, obviously one of them or all of them have good fixtures, or maybe they're all kind of mediocre. Do you think Barnes might be rested? So I don't think Barnes will be rested just because Vardy's out, and I think that Leicester, after coming back from that kind of shock defeat to Leeds, I think they have to keep their foot on the pedal, and they're going to try and play their main starting 11. So I'm not too worried about Harvey Barnes. Pep, everyone is fine except Nathan Ake and Sergio Aguero when one guy suffers. Yeah, so also KDB is also out from those. So if you have Nathan Ake, Sergio Aguero, or KDB, unfortunately they're not playing. Naveen saying many Burnley players injured like Wood, Barnes, Brady. 1 to 2 more. So Cancelo captain lock for you. It's not necessarily locked for me. I think I would still probably go with Salah. I think the thing that would probably make it confirmed maybe going Cancelo is if we had like an early team news or something like that, then I might consider him. But I think with Salah, it's the more attacking option out of the two. And I think that Burnley might be a little bit more of a close game, not like the 5-0 previously. Zaid saying, how much you got in the bank? I have 3.4 in the bank. So the team value is going up a little bit. Not the usual self there at the start of the season. Our team value is absolutely terrible. Fabianski or Alex McCarthy, who to play? So McCarthy's playing United. I probably would play Fabianski. I don't think there's too much between those two keepers, though. I think both of them should return 2 or 3 points. So that's not the biggest decision in the world, but I think Fabianski, you might consider him more because the West Ham defense, although Liverpool played well against them, I think that's probably the better defense. I believe this season is so unpredictable, so I'd go for instinct, then players' form or fixture. So that is true. I think you can probably see that at the start of the season, I was kind of going for more fixtures and maybe transferring that style. But now back to the fixtures, I think the season over the entirety is kind of evening itself out, and that's why we're seeing a couple green arrows. Kanishka is saying, play Watkins or Dallas as Pickford isn't playing. I would go for Watkins. I know that Dallas is out of position, but I don't really trust that Leeds defense. And also, maybe if Dallas doesn't play out of position, suddenly that starting position doesn't look that great. So I definitely would just go with Watkins. I mean, Watkins' stats are crazy. He should 100% have scored more goals. Rafinha to Grealish or Barnes, add him to DCL or Wilson. It depends what you want to do. If you want to take a 1 week punt, then go for Barnes, but Grealish is definitely the better long-term option, and that's probably who I would look for. And then in terms of Adams to DCL or Wilson, it's a similar situation. I mean, DCL is a better fixture in Gameweek 22, but Wilson is probably the more assured option for the long term. So if you want to go long term, go for Grealish and Wilson, but if you want to go for more of a punt, go for Barnes and DCL. Also there, Tristan, thanks for the super chat. Sterling or Fernandes, captain? Out of Sterling and Fernandes, I think I would probably go with Sterling. I think if it was Sterling or Salah, I might lean towards Salah. It all comes down to the fact of if you want to go differential. But how I see it is that Sterling and Fernandes both will be differential. And out of those two options, I favor Sterling. So I would go for Sterling, but thanks for the super chat. Do you think Gundogan will get benched? I don't think he'll be benched. I think with the Man City players, because they have such a lot of possession, I don't know if their players get that tired. If you know what I'm saying, they play the ball around a lot of breaks in the game for them to regain that fitness. So I don't think the Man City, especially that midfield, are going to have that many rests. So I would think that Gundogan will start. He might have a similar situation. What we've seen Pep do is he brings players off around that halftime, which is not really good from an FPL point of view, but from a game management point of view, that allows your team to play a lot of games in a short period of time. Should I play Johnston or Martinez? So this is a tough spot, but I would probably go with Martinez because Johnston and West Brom are absolutely terrible. So I'm not expecting much from him. I just think that he could potentially have a better chance of a clean sheet than Fabianski, and I'm also having Ollie Watkins in the attack. So that's why I've gone for Johnston. But if you have any other keeper that's better, then definitely just go for Johnston. I mean, definitely don't go for Johnston because he's having a shocker recently. Who will most likely have a double game week? So right now it seems like Everton and Man City are going to play each other in game week 24. So there'll be a double game week for them. And then game week 26, I think that's when the big double is going to happen. So then a lot of teams will have a double. But unfortunately, because of the FA Cup, we still have another round of the FA Cup coming up shortly. So once that is concluded, we will have a brighter and a more clear picture of that double game week 26. This game week, Kufal to Rudiger, next Adams to Antonio. So Simon, I like those moves that you've planned out. With Rudiger, I know that he started the last 3, but I probably would like a little bit more assurance that he was going to be in the starting 11 every single game week, because I think the Chelsea manager has shown that he's not afraid to rotate. But if you want to go for more of a punt, I mean 4.5, nothing much to worry about there. They are playing Spurs though, so maybe if you think that Son could get something, then you might want to hold off on that move. But I definitely do like the Adams to Antonio move. Rafinha to Grealish or Zaha, I would go for Grealish. Bench Souček or Digne. I think that that Everton Leeds game is going to have quite a lot of attack. So if you can basically bank on Digne getting an attacking return, I don't think he's going to get a clean sheet. So I might be tempted to play Souček in that position. Will Cavani start? I don't know if Cavani's going to start. I don't know the exact kind of thinking behind Martial. Is he back from injury, or if he isn't? If he's not back from injury, then I would go for I would go for Cavani. I would think that he would start, but if Martial's back, it might be a little bit different. They are playing Southampton. I don't think they need necessarily that much of an attacking threat, but Cavani has started the last couple, I do believe. So, I mean, if you have Cavani in your side, you might as well just keep him. Zidane saying, how are you so good on FPL? So this season, I'm not good on FPL, unfortunately, but maybe next season we can get a little bit better at it. Chilwell replacements. I have 2 Man City defenders already. So for Chilwell, you might just want to keep him this week. If you're really not confident of him starting, I think he definitely will start against Spurs, because with Marcos Alonso, I don't know defensively if he's that assured. So Chilwell is probably the more assured option defensively. So you might play in that one. So I would probably give him another week and then just see. Really struggling with who to bench between Antonio, Bamford, and DCL. So if you're talking about form, you bench DCL. If you're talking about fixture, I think you bench Antonio. It's a really tough spot to be in. In a perfect world, you want to start all 3 of them. But if you have a stacked midfield or stacked defense, then unfortunately you can't. That one, I think it's a really like 50-50 decision. I mean, Bamford and Leeds could go back to their old selves and not get anything. DCL could go and bang. Antonio could bang. But I think in terms of the defenses who are playing each other, Antonio has the worst fixture. Please, Zaha or Gundogan. So if you're talking about who to bench, you probably play Zaha because he has more of an attacking threat. But in terms of just kind of who to have in your wild card or whatever, go for Gundogan. Igor, thanks for advising me to put Bamford on the bench. Just kidding. Green arrows here anyway. Here's another dilemma. Madison or Watkins. So this is what happens with your team, Igor, because you have so many good players that you have a benching headache basically every single week. So my suggestion to you was just take one of those players, get Anguissa in your lineup, and then you don't have a benching decision ever again. In terms of Madison or Watkins, I think you have to play Madison in that case because it's just against Fulham and Watkins plays West Ham. But I think both of those players could do well. So it's a really tough spot to be in with your side. But I'm happy to see your team value so good that you can bench these players as well. Thomas saying, if I'm going to, been over this already, but benching headache, Gundogan, Son, Antonio, Bamford, or DCL. So I'm going to give you guys some information. You can do with it what you please, but I don't want to be held responsible for any of the what happens in that game. But in terms of Son versus Chelsea, and when we look at how Spurs have been playing, they've been playing absolutely dreadfully. So I'm not saying you should bench Son against Chelsea, but if it was my team, I would potentially be looking at that. Now, please don't hold me responsible. Just take that information and do with it what you please. But I won't hold it against you if you guys did bench Son. But also don't be surprised if Son bangs a hat-trick and then you're crying on Thursday evening after that. Sterling or Mahrez? I think you have to go with Sterling. I know that Mahrez has a really good history against Burnley, but I just favor Sterling long term. Are you making any transfers, Awesome? Yeah, I'm not going to be making any transfers. I think I'm going to be benching. I'm going to be banking a transfer. In terms of the starting lineup, I don't think there's any moves that I really want to make in terms of using a free transfer. And I think I'd rather get as much news as possible for the potential doubles coming up than making an unnecessary move. Captain today, if you're talking about my lineup, it's going to be Salah, but in terms of captaincy options today, if you really want to captain someone today, you might as well just go for Bruno Fernandes. Don't you think Bruno will bang against Southampton? It's not like I don't think that Bruno will bang. I just think that Salah has an equal potential to bang as well. So that's kind of my thinking behind it. I think that a lot of more people will captain Salah, and this might be one of those situations where you just don't overthink it. I know Brighton have been defensively strong these past couple game weeks, but it might just be one of those decisions. Don't overthink it. Just go for Salah. He's on form. I know he's not on the best of form, but he did score 2 against West Ham, who have been defensively strong. So I think just go for Salah. He's going to be captained by a lot of people. I know it's boring, but if you're not going to go differential, you might as well. I'm the only one feeling a Salah rest if possible. So I think I can understand the game management point of view, but I don't know if it'll be an out-and-out rest. So maybe 60 minutes. But I think with kind of what's happening with the Mane situation with that injury, maybe I think they can't really afford to not play Salah. Blues FPL saying, I love the color coordination. So thank you. I think this is the exact same color coordination that we had last game week. So hopefully it can pay dividend in game week 22. Please, Justin or Maguire. So I think I would favor Justin in that case. I think Southampton, if they can get back to that form they've been in previously, it's not like they haven't been scoring goals, they just haven't been winning games. So I think against United, I think Southampton's attack's better than Fulham's, and that's why I personally would favor Justin. Should I bench Justin or Holding? So Arsenal do face Wolves. Wolves have been terrible recently, but I just think that Justin offers more of an attacking threat. So I know Holding might be one of those boring options, might be more of a consistent option, but I think in terms of the highest ceiling, Justin's definitely has it. 5 games in 14 days for Salah. Will play against Man City. So that's the thing is he's played about 90 minutes every single game week. Did have game week 19 off against Burnley, so maybe that was his rest. It's a tough spot to be in, but I think with Salah, if you don't think he's going to start, then don't captain him. But I think personally he will, and he'll get about 60 minutes. Maguire or Dallas, asks Owen. I think I would go for Maguire. Just more of a clean sheet threat there, I think. Are you okay with having 2 Man City defenders for their next 2 fixtures? So I could offer some rotation there, but with the way Man City are playing currently, I wouldn't be surprised if that Liverpool-Man City game was a 0-0. I think the previous game they played, so that one was a 1-1, but it's not like I don't favor Liverpool to score. I just think that Man City could actually get a clean sheet in that one. Kufal or Dallas? I probably would just go for Dallas because of that out-of-position threat. Cresswell or Justin? I would still go for Justin. Martinez or Johnston? I'd go for Martinez. Bench McCarthy or Meslier? I think I would probably favor going for McCarthy over Meslier. I just don't trust that Leeds defense. Can you trust Pep to play Sterling? The thing about not playing Sterling is, if you've benched him on the weekend, you then benching him midweek. That's like basically a week since he's played. So I think you'd want to have your sides have a little bit of game time, a little bit of match fitness when they're facing Liverpool on the weekend. So that's just my personal opinion. Isn't it a good opportunity to pick a differential captain and catch up in the ranks? So we spoke about this a little bit earlier in the stream. It's one of those weeks where it's a high risk, high reward strategy. So if you want to go for a differential, you can always look at the upside to that, but you got to look at the downside as well. If 200% effective ownership with Salah, I know that's probably pretty much impossible because that would mean that everyone captain him. But a really high effective ownership, if Salah does better than your captain, then you immediately add a big red arrow. And that's just kind of the opinion I'm going for. This is one of those weeks where you don't really want to overthink it. Last game week was probably the week to do the differential captain because there's a lot of split options. But when there's one option that's really good and a standout captain option, it's a mega risk not to captain them. Barnes in for Foden. That's a move that I would maybe consider, but Foden has a potential to also start against Burnley. So it's a tough spot to be in. And Nick, if you're not going to be using your wild card before that double game week, then you got to save your free transfers at this point. If you want to captain Barnes, then go for it. But you might just want to save that transfer because Barnes up after Fulham, the fixtures turn a little bit worse. I know it's not the worst fixtures in the world, but you might want to save that transfer for a double game week player. Captain Cancelo, says Shahil. So I could captain him, but I think I'm pretty much going to go for Salah. I think there's 6 minutes before the deadline. So kind of gotten off track here talking to you guys. So just a reminder that it's about 5 minutes before the deadline. So please get those sides in and those captains selected. I don't know who are you guys captaining. I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of Salahs in the chat, but we could have the potential for maybe a Cancelo. Target or Soufal? I probably would go for Target in that case, just because his assisting threat recently has been a bit better. Bench Dallas or Digne? I think you bench Dallas. I think you play Lucas Digne. Germa saying Smith Rowe captain. That could be a mega differential there. If you're going for the Smith Rowe captaincy in a game week where Salah's going to have such an effective ownership, I salute you. Bamford playing Os Joseph. I think he will play. It just was a dead leg. In the press conference after the game, he said that he'll be fine. So I generally trust players that kind of know their own muscles and their own fitness levels. Georgian Law says Cancelo vice captain. So that's something that I was considering doing if Salah managed to get benched. And it's something that I was kind of pondering, but then I was like, I think it's enough kind of just owning Cancelo. 20% ownership, still a little bit of a differential. Whereas Fernandes, most people will probably have the vice captain on him. The interesting thing is Fernandes is actually owned by more people than Salah is. I just think the captaincy will be more on Salah this week. Cresswell or Souček, I would probably just go for Souček because I always favor the attacker, and Souček has been looking quite good. As Optimus Prime says, please make, like, and subscribe. That would be appreciated. Barnes for Rafinha, worth it. I think this game week Leeds could do well against Everton, so it's a little bit of a tough one because of the injury to Rafinha, so he might not play. So I think I would probably do that move if you think that Rafinha is going to be benched or kind of injured. But otherwise, I might just stick with Rafinha and hope that he plays. Dyer to a 5.1. So Ian, you could look at someone like a Rudiger. We spoke about him in the preview, but there are other options that you could go for. Target's also quite good, and that's basically the two that I think I would look at. When should I save a transfer from this week? So you can save a transfer from this week for this week. I think that would be quite a good decision. But just maybe if you can save a transfer, just do it, because the more news we kind of get up and leading towards those game week doubles, the better, because that's where we can kind of know which players are going to have a double and which transfers we can kind of use our free transfers on. Souček or Rafinha, I think I would go for Rafinha in that case. Is West Ham's exciting new wonder kid Jesse Lingard essential? He could be essential, but I think I would like to see a little bit more out of the youngster Jesse Lingard before I consider him for my team. It's kind of the similar situation with Percy Tau. I'm just waiting for Percy Tau to finally get some minutes for Brighton, and then we can maybe bring him in as a differential. When shall I let a free transfer go waste, as I already have 2 free transfers and I can think of making any changes to my team? So what I would probably do then is I would try and not waste a transfer. I would maybe use it on your second keeper or your first keeper or something like that, or just use it on your bench. But I wouldn't suggest maybe using or burning a transfer. That's not usually the most advisable decision. But if you really can't do anything, then just leave it. Todd saying, do transfer, I gotta go. So Todd, I'm not doing any transfer, so you can leave there. Enjoy your evening. Retaining Wilson and expecting another brace, I would go for the Wilson keep. Definitely not a sell in my opinion. Bench headache started when KDB got injured. Too much money in the bank. So that is true, Igor. So that could be an unfortunate decision from Kevin De Bruyne getting injured. And that's maybe why I have 3 odd million in my bank. Lacazette playing or not? I think that Arsenal basically have to play him because he's on really good form and you kind of want to keep on winning games at this level. So I think that he's definitely not one of those players I think will be benched. But I mean, I don't really watch Arsenal a lot, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask that question. Jamie saying Mitchell to start. You might as well just start Mitchell if you want to. The thing with Mitchell is that if he doesn't start, he won't come off the bench, so you'll be fine. You can get the first sub off. Nicola saying, hope that Salah gets around 70 minutes. That is true. I think 70 minutes will probably be the sweet spot for me. 60 minutes might be a little bit too low, where 70 will be a good amount of minutes for him to get a return. Mesli or Fabianski, I'd go for Fabianski. Digne or Thiago Silva. That's a tough spot. I think if you have someone like Bamford, I would probably just go for Thiago Silva and just play the odds and hope that Bamford gets a goal. 1 minute to the deadline, that is true. So I'm just going to pop a refresh here for the stream to show you that this is the confirmed team. Souček on the bench, again, first position. We might have got lucky last game week, but maybe this game week he comes off the bench with an absolute 13-pointer. So if you do have Souček, maybe start him because I have a good history of this man scoring when he's been on my bench. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. Sterling captain, I really like the Sterling captain. If you have him in your lineup, I think that you should definitely consider captaining him. Blue saying Berkey. You could always go for the captaincy on Berkey. As Optimus Prime saying, no late drama today. So no Barnes captain, although I was tempted by the Harvey Barnes captain if we wanted to kind of consider him. Sarip saying time. I think we have a little bit more amount of seconds there before the deadline. No worries, Ben. Thanks for dropping by. When will Kane be back playing? Should I take him out? So Bobby, Kane will be potentially back for that City fixture, which is next game week. So if you did manage to keep hold of him, you might as well just do it. Jajorian saying, enjoy the legal beer, Dayvy. Thanks. Good luck to you too. Hopefully you have a good night. Gregorian law. Apologies for that. Salah out injured, says Adam. So we'll see when we get that lineup tomorrow night. But thank you for all joining the stream today. Hopefully your captain, if you went for a differential, pays off in Game Week 22. I always love when a differential captain pays off against the main striker or the main midfielder who everyone goes for. Unfortunately, this week we went a little bit boring, but I still think the team has enough differentials for us to get a lovely green arrow if everything goes to plan. So thanks for dropping by as always, and hopefully the green arrows are in your favor. I'm going to be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.